Welcome back, everybody. Right now I'm sitting with my wildflower patch. I've been working on this patch for years. Last year it was really beautiful. There was Rocky Mountain penstemon, coneflower, blanket flower, but that's about it. And I want more wildflowers. So I ordered a bunch of seeds a couple months ago. I did some cold stratification in the fridge to help them germinate more successfully, hopefully. And it's finally time to plant. Probably should have planted a couple weeks ago, but here we are now. First though, I'm gonna just clean out my wildflower patch. You know, just the dried leaves. I need to cut back some dead stalks from last year. And then we can till up the soil and throw down the seeds. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm all done cleaning up the bigger debris, the old stalks, some unwanted grass and dandelions. I tried to loosen up the soil a bit. It was a lot harder than I thought. It was not good. So I sprayed some water on it as well. And now we throw the seed into these more bigger spots that I have. Of course, I have a fair amount of wildflowers popping up, so there's not a ton of room, but I'll just spread them in these bigger patches of bare ground and see what pops up. Here's all my wildflower seeds. I have about 10 different types of wildflowers, along with 2 different types of wild grass. Mixed it with some sand, just so I can kind of see where I've spread the seed and where I have not. And let's go. Now I'm just going through and making sure it's all mixed into the soil a little bit more. Yeah, I think, several years ago I tried to plant wildflower seeds, and I think I buried them with too much soil, perhaps. I don't know if that's legit, but that's what I think happened. Okay, well, I think they're all mixed in well, and yes, let's go. That's a wrap on reseeding my wildflower patch. I'm excited to see what pops up. Now, of course, with perennials, you usually have to wait 2 to 3 years until the plant actually flowers, which is hard waiting that long, but I can't wait to see what this could look like 2 to 3 years. I also threw in some forget-me-nots, so those should flower this year. But yeah, And hopefully I'll have an update in a few weeks, a few months, a few years. Bye-bye. Here we are, 6 months later in November, to give an update on how my wildflower patch did throughout the summer. Starting off in mid-June, Rocky Mountain pincers were beautiful, beautiful, stunning blooms for a handful of weeks. I very much enjoyed watching bees and wasps fly into the tubular flowers and fly out, fly in, fly out. It was so fun to watch. Overall, the Rocky Mountain piston did much better than I thought. Really excited. It's only going to get better, so just fun stuff, okay? After they finished blooming though, there was a pretty big lull in the blooms throughout my wildflower patch. Not much happening, except for one flower. I did not plant this flower, it just came up randomly a couple years ago. This was the first year where it did really well. It's a scarlet sinkflower. It's native to the desert southwest, Arizona, Mexico, Utah, parts of Colorado. It just has this beautiful small flowers, deep red, nice foliage. It made me really happy, especially since everything else was pretty quiet. It was kind of the only plant that was flowering for a couple weeks, and man, it was nice. And it continued to bloom off and on throughout the summer and into early fall. So that was good to see, and might have been my favorite flower this year in my wildflower patch, just because I didn't plant it, just came up randomly. That's always fun. And just the small, deep red flowers are just really nice. Then mid-July comes around, and Pasqueflower and coneflowers are finally blooming, and they would do so until very hard freeze in the last week of October. Though overall, a bit disappointed with how they did. I've learned once we hit August, the sun is at a lower angle, and our house blocks a good portion of the wildflower patch and my peach tree. Later in the summer, more leaves, more shade. They still get a couple hours of direct sunlight, but not nearly as much as they should be getting. So as you can kind of see, just the blanket flowers, they're leggy. They're reaching for light. They want light. They want more light. So they could do better. So I have to figure that out, what to do. Same with the coneflowers, you know. They did well, but they just still seem a bit leggy as well. It's like they're reaching for the light. But I'm not going to complain. Still very nice blooms. And I love how, they're still blooming well into October, which is amazing. I also had some lance leaf coreopsis that would bloom from time to time throughout the summer. Also, like a couple asters, and one flower on a super small, like Rocky Mountain bee plant. One flower, and then it was done. Kind of strange, but good. Hopefully next year that plant will be bigger. The month of October. I really enjoyed the month of October in my wildflower patch. It was just pretty. It was a nice way to kind of say farewell
that's my wildflower patch for the year, you know. It's still beautiful now, but October, you know, the coneflower, Pasqueflower, we're still blooming a tiny bit. Of course, you know, some of the seeds, you know, penstemon are dispersing their seeds on the seed heads, kind of the mildewy leaves, penstemon, all the different textures, browns and yellows and greens. Really enjoyed it. It was really pretty. So yeah. As far as the seeds that I planted back in May, they definitely germinated. Some did. Definitely had a hard time identifying what came up and what didn't. I know for sure some white yarrow came up and some asters, but that's really all I could identify, unfortunately. So hopefully more germinated. Next year, year 2, they should be bigger. And hopefully easier to identify. I think that's a wrap. That's all I have to say. You know, just can't wait for next year and the year after that, and the year after that, because it's just gonna get more pretty, more blooms, more different types of flowers, more life, more bees, more insects. Just it's gonna be a happy little area, okay? It already is, but it's just gonna be even better. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you next video. Bye bye.